What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I had to really think about that for a solid second because Matt Meiselman's joining us on the show, and typically he is a Tuesday, sometimes a Thursday guest here on the Slate. We are a DraftKings show. We come to you live in that 5 o'clock Eastern hour on the East Coast, of course, in the afternoon, early evening. We'll take you right up until about 6 o'clock, getting you caught up on all things professional sports in the DFS and sports betting world over on the DraftKings Sportsbook. All of the odds that we discuss are brought to you by the DK Sportsbook. It's the NBA Finals, so we got to get our Boston Celtics cheerleader slash DraftKings Sportsbook content specialist. I begin with Celtics because I think that's where we should start now with the Meiselman title. Not wearing his Celtics green today. Coming off a Game 2 loss, the Celtics, Golden State bouncing back with a 107-88 victory to tie the NBA Finals at 1-1. Game 2, or rather Game 3 in Boston Wednesday night. Game 4 Friday night in Boston. So the series shifts to Boston later this week. Meiselman, I know, full disclosure, Meiselman did not see much of Game 2, and that's okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's part of the deal where we all got things going on here. So, but with the series now tied 1-1, where are you at mentally here with this series?
Well, I did watch a sufficient number of highlights, although the highlights don't show the Celtics offense much from the game because I guess there just wasn't much of it outside of Jason Tatum. I'm very confused about the game. Like, the first half seemed perfectly normal. I thought the Warriors deserved to be favored in Game 2. I didn't think they deserved to be favored by 4.5 points. Like, I thought it just should have been a little less than that. But yeah, obviously, like, they had the motivational edge being down 1-0 in the series. Game 1 probably surprised every single person. Not that the Celtics won it, but just how they won it. So Game 2, I guess, isn't really that shocking that Golden State won the game. It's just like the third quarter thing, I guess, is sort of a real concept, just like the way the Warriors come out of halftime with adjustments, the way they wear teams down over the course of a game. But just the degree to which it happened was very surprising to me, to just see the game get out of hand so quickly. Despite that, though, like, I still think the Celtics should be significant favorites in the series. They now basically they have home court for a 5-game series. I think they're the better team. I don't think that anything that's happened so far has changed that fact. And the Celtics actually are favored now. I think when the line for the series first came up after Game 2, we were
minus 115.
I think it was minus 115 to Golden State, and now it's minus 115 to Boston.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I think it's flipped.
Yep, it has.
Okay, so yeah, Boston's a slight favorite. I mean, honestly, I think Boston should be like minus 180, if not more. Like, I think this line's way off because I just think the Celtics are a lot better, and maybe Draymond Green got away with a lot more than he normally would in Game 2 because the refs want to see a longer series. Just speculating there. But it was a weird game. The one thing I am concerned with, so mentally, I would say I'm good on almost every point, except that Gary Payton II played really, really well, and he played 25 minutes. And the Celtics offense was worse, and that's his thing.
Game was lopsided too. Let's keep that in mind, right?
Right. The Celtics offense was fine in the first half. They just had a disastrous third quarter, I guess.
Yep.
But Payton playing more minutes ahead of Andre Iguodala, who I don't think is terrible, but Payton's better, and also letting the Warriors go small and play less Kevon Looney, I think that really helps them. So before Payton was in the rotation, I thought the Celtics were a lot better than the Warriors. Now I think maybe they're just, a little bit better than the Warriors. I still think they're the better team, but I'm a big fan of Payton. I'm not a fan of him playing as someone who wants the Celtics to win the series.
Payton finished with 7 points, perfect 3 of 3 from the field, made a 3-pointer, scored 7 points. I said that. Plus 15 for the game. That's what I wanted to say. Plus 15 for the game, Gary Payton.
His defense is always outstanding. So if he's contributing offensively too, then he's a really, really valuable player.
Otto Porter played 15 minutes, plus 24 in the basketball game, matching Looney and Curry. Those are the top performers in terms of plus minus. Looney, Curry, and Porter.
So can we get Daniel Tice out of the rotation for Game 3? Maybe we should talk about that.
Oh my goodness!
I don't understand.
Thank you for saying that.
Like Robert Williams, I know can't play big minutes, right? Like we understand.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But can't Grant Williams and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard take those minutes? Like, why do they need to have Tice out there? Just basically they can stagger Horford and Time Lord's minutes where you just always have one of them. Maybe even bring Robert Williams off the bench so that they can stagger the minutes better. Mm-hmm. I could see that adjustment for game 3 where maybe Grant Williams or Derek White starts, or just, Robert Williams comes out of the game early in the quarter so that he can then come back in. Because I think what we've seen, correct me if I'm wrong on the rotations, but I think the Celtics play both Horford and Williams for about 6 minutes, and then Williams leaves, and then a couple minutes later, Horford exits the game, but Williams is not ready to come back in yet because they're monitoring the minutes, so that's when Tice comes in. And the Tice minutes are just a disaster every time. So, they need to just stagger it better so they don't need to play Tice, right? It doesn't seem that complicated.
Yeah, I mean, and look, they can, of all series, maybe Brooklyn, but of all series here, when you look at Milwaukee, you look at Miami, this is a series you can get away with it, not playing Tice, and maybe even go completely small if you don't have any of those front court guys on the floor.
Yeah, the Warriors don't have interior offense. They score all their points shooting. I mean, they do drive a decent amount, but
and Looney was 6 for 6.
Can protect the rim.
Yeah, Looney was 6 for 6 in the game.
Yeah,
scored 12 points, 7 rebounds for Kevon Looney. So, what's your read on game 3? It's Wednesday night in Boston. Do you wait if you like the Celtics? I think the line has moved in the line has moved in Boston's direction, meaning the Celtics were opened up at -3. Now it's 3.5.
So I do think there's a chance that you could see the line bump back down to -3. And if you want to wait for that to get that additional half point, if you like the Celtics, maybe you can wait it out and find a -3 later in the week. We have a lot of time before this game. It's over 48 hours away right now. So maybe there's a -3 available at some point, but ultimately I think this line is too low, whether it's 3, 3.5, 4. I think the Celtics deserve to be 6 or 7 point favorites in their home games. And I think they deserve to be much larger favorites on the series line right now. So I don't know that I can personally take the Celtics I've already bet the Celtics so many times. I don't know that I personally can just keep adding on, but if I currently had nothing on the Celtics, I would certainly be taking them now, both for game 3 and for the series. I think that there's definitely a bit of recency bias from game 2 baked into game 3's line where the Warriors looked really good. And now we're going to get some kind of narrative that the momentum has shifted. And I personally just don't think that matters. It's proven itself to not matter, specifically in this year's playoffs where there's a blowout one way and then the other team blows out that team the next game. It just has not seemed to translate game to game. So ultimately, you just want to look for who's the better team overall and try to stay away from these trends of a team is starting to play better, so therefore they're going to keep playing better. Like we saw with Miami in game 6 after getting, I guess it was demolished across games 4 and 5, the Celtics were good. And then game 6, the Heat just came out and Jimmy Butler was back to being all-star level Jimmy Butler or even MVP level Jimmy Butler out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I think that's just kind of what happens. And we forget that sometimes. So I don't really care the Warriors won game 2 by so much. I care that they won it, obviously, but the margin doesn't affect me. I still think the Celtics are undervalued.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that stood out from a Celtics standpoint in game 2, their spacing wasn't very good offensively, which it was just bizarre. Now, I think part of that is Golden State has this ability to speed up their opponent. And that's not to say the Celtics can't play that way, but I do think Golden State is better. The Celtics still held the Warriors to 107, which was under the team total that the Warriors opened at in game 1. Team total was at 108.5, I think, which they scored. Yes, that's right. And they scored 108 in game 1, right at it. And then 107 to win game 2. And like you said, the Celtics offensively, outside of that third quarter being outscored 35-14, they held their own defensively. That the way that game was going through the first 2 quarters fit everything Boston. And I think Golden State's good defensively, but not as good as the Celtics. But the Celtics were playing a half-court, slow-it-down style. I also think Steph Curry had one of his better defensive games of his career, without question. Also, not as many playmaking opportunities for Jason Tatum like we saw in game 1 compared to game 2. I mean, you hit on this with Tice being out there. There was a lineup for the Celtics in the third quarter where the game was kind of in limbo, where you felt, okay, Golden State might blow them out, which they ended up doing. They went up by as many as 30 points, or the Celtics hang around. They were right around 10, 12 was the deficit. The lineup on the floor was Tatum and 4 reserves. You look at Tatum's minutes in game 2, 34 minutes. The other starters weren't even close, did not play more than 30 minutes in that game 2. And there was a lineup of Tice, Grant Williams, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard on the floor with Tatum. It kind of, it just made it very predictable what was going to happen. Tatum was just going to dribble, take the shot clock down, and Golden State just threw doubles at him. There was no way of getting out of it.
Yeah, so hopefully the adjustment we get for game 3, like, it's hard to know what Ime Udoka is going to choose, but I think we can kind of guess. From game 6 to game 7 in the Miami series, to me, the thing that stood out the most was the Celtics sped up the pace and they started playing with more urgency offensively, and it had really good results. And they did that in the fourth quarter of game 1, but with that lineup, they can't do it. Like, you can't do that with Tice in the game. So hopefully the adjustment is Tice doesn't play anymore. They go with the smaller lineup and they just pick up the pace and wear Golden State out, because the Celtics are the more physical, the stronger, like the younger team outside of Horford. Like, they're way younger across the board. So I think the Celtics playing with more urgency offensively should solve a lot of their problems. And then taking Tice out might just solve the rest of the problems.
Before we transition to hockey, I want to get one more thought here on these NBA finals. We kind of already hit on this in terms of, I asked you how you were, where you were mentally on the series. So do you still find value in taking Boston at minus 115, or is there a case to be made? So we've been very Celtics heavy on this program so far, but say you like Golden State. Do you go get Golden State now at minus 105, or is there a case to wait?
It's a very hard hypothetical for me to imagine liking Golden State.
Meiselman, we have to be fair. I feel like I'm talking to Kaufman now sometimes. Like, come on, let's go.
I think the Celtics are better than even Kaufman does. So, like, this is even more extreme than what you're going to get out of Kaufman. It's hard. It's really hard to say. Like, I can't answer the question, because I think there's a good chance the Celtics just win the next 3 games. So, like, I don't know how to do that. Like, when do you bet the Warriors? How about next season? That's when we'll do it.
I love it, but I kind of hate it too. I'm like,
that's fine. It's just my honest thoughts. Like, I got nothing for you.
If you like the Celts, finals market, series correct score, Celtics 4-1 is plus 600. That feels too low. I mean, that doesn't feel great. I mean, I don't think that's good. That's good value.
It's really like, I think the Celtics have a roughly 50-50 shot to win both home games. Like, 50% that they're up 3-1. And then at that point, like, with that lead, I guess you'd get a lot of urgency out of Golden State in game 5. So it kind of complicates things. But yeah, if you're someone who thinks like the Celtics need their back against the wall to win games, do not bet this. But I personally don't think that. I think that's way overblown. I mean, there's a little something to it, but I don't personally care. And I would say the most likely outcome for this series is Celtics in 6. Like, that's the most likely scenario.
Yep.
So maybe just, be safe and go with that. Or the even safer move, just bet the Celtics to win. But for me to imagine like what it would take to bet on the Warriors at this point, it would take injury, and that's the only thing. That's all I got. Like, the circumstances of the series would have to change for me to be interested in the Warriors. And if you're someone who wants to bet on the Warriors now, I'm not your guy. Like, you got to find another person. Maybe Glash, maybe you can help them quickly, but like, it's not going to be me. Like, I just can't do it.
I think there might be some value in taking just the individual money lines in game 3 and or game 4, if you like Golden State, and just go that way. You're
sort of anticipating a split in the next 2.
Correct. Right. Okay. So take a money line in the individual games, and that's a way you can kind of creep around that angle, because there's probably a greater chance of this going 2-2 going back to Golden State than there would be a 3-1 lead either way. Like, I don't think anyone thinks Golden State's winning both games in Boston.
I actually think that that's true, that 2-2 is more likely than 3-1.
Yep.
Or at least they're similarly likely. I just think Boston 3-1 is dramatically more likely than Golden State 3-1.
No question.
Like, Golden State going up 3-1 would surprise me a lot. Maybe it's like 2-2 and Boston 3-1 are probably similarly likely outcomes in my mind.
Okay, let's bring in our friend Jeff Ulrich. Jeff will always help remind us that the officials, don't blame the officials when it comes to any sport, right, Jeff? I mean, in game one, the officials weren't involved in those NBA finals. They were more involved in game two. We do not like when the officials get involved, but it's a way to bring Jeff on because we can talk a little hockey. And Meiselman wants to stick around because his Rangers are playing so well. They're up 2-1. They did lose game number 3 in Tampa. But hey, Jeff, are you there? Can you hear us?
I'm here. Hi. Bro.
Good
you
to
guys
see
sound very confident about the Celtics. Makes me a little bit worried, to be honest.
I agree. I mean, I've been feeling worried like this since January 4th when the great video came out. Meiselman's confidence is scary, but I'm here for it.
I know a lot of sharp guys, and Matt is one of them, who are very confident about the Celtics. But
I know
it. You bring up the refs, and there's maybe a bit of a Curry bias. I don't know, man. Anyways, I don't have that much action on NBA, so I don't have to worry about it. I'll let you guys worry about that.
Let's
I do
go
have
to
action on the
hockey.
NHL.
Yeah, please. I feel bad for you because you were in on some Oilers futures and they are down 3-0 in this series.
No, but I mean, the thing is, I took the Oilers for the Western Conference. That was my main bet.
Okay,
and I did hedge it out at the start of the series. So, which I said off the bat, like, you should probably do that if they face the Avalanche. But so that's not the problem now. What we got to figure out is where we want to go, starting tonight. A lot of action on the under today. A lot of action. It's like people just feel like this series has shifted.
Did go under last game. Final score was 4-2.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the Avalanche, it's all about the Avalanche shutting down the Oilers. The Avalanche are still scoring, right? So if you're a believer in the under, you basically think that the Avalanche are going to shut down the Oilers again. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not so sure. I don't know if I'd want to be taking unders against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl too much. This is still a team that scored up until the beginning of the second round, was on pace with the Avalanche in terms of goal scoring.
Just to
I
jump in real quick.
I would personally be fine taking a contrarian stance and just going over here, just because there's so much money on the under right now. Like, it just seems outlandish. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at the total. I don't mind taking a piece of Edmonton tonight either. Yeah, I mean, like, again, you just get these teams in 3-0 scenarios, and I'm obviously a little bit biased here because at this point in the series, it's kind of like the Oilers are losing. They're not gonna make it. So it's just like I'm kind of just playing for this one little pride game here right now. So this game to me tonight, take a little piece of the Oilers and can move on. I still think that the best bet you can make right now, and this, I mean, you're only getting -215 is just to bet this the or whatever, -2 something. It's to just bet the Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah. Because if I like the Oilers, if the Oilers had somehow got past the Avalanche, I liked them against whoever they were going to face. Like, I would have taken them. If the Avalanche are destroying the Oilers, I have to like the Avalanche at this number. Like, it seems short, and you're like, well, they haven't even won their round yet. Like, anything could happen. This could still go 7 or something. But like, I'm telling you, this team is so much better than the other teams in the East. Like, you're getting good value there. You really are, in my opinion.
Just to drive home Jeff's point, he put out the splits. He's at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter. Great follow when it comes to hockey coverage at DraftKings. 93% of the money for Avalanche Oilers Game 4. 93% of the money coming in on under 7 goals. Crazy. Meiselman, you care to respond to that?
Yeah, that's wild. So I have a couple of questions. Your Oilers bias, Jeff, is not going to affect this, actually, because my questions are about the Colorado injury situations.
Right.
So we already know Nazem Kadri is not playing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have Andre Burakovsky, who may be returning, and then Darcy Kemper may be returning, but they may not start him because Francois has been good. Okay. So, like, I feel like this leads towards the over being better because Kadri is a center who's really good defensively, and Burakovsky's missed some games, which, like, Burakovsky is basically if I have this right, is like way more of an offensive player than a defensive player.
Way more.
To me, it seems like the roster change should lead to more goals in the game. Just because,
Kadri, especially with Kadri being out. Kadri is like a big piece of that. I completely agree. And I just want to double check. He's actually going to miss the rest of this series. So even if it goes to Game 5, he's not playing. I forgot. Yeah, I didn't realize that, actually, but he's definitely out tonight. And Francouz, that's the other thing. Like, Francouz, I mean, at some point, this guy's got to throw in like a bad game. I mean, he's the backup, right? So I think playing for that too is another reason why I don't mind the over. And I think you could play the over and the Oilers. Like I really do. So just because of all these things we've mentioned, I mean, I would fully expect the Avalanche just to bounce back in game 5 because they're a deep team. They've played without guys for long stretches of the year and they've been completely fine. I mean, Kadri is probably maybe that's the reason why the Avalanche are still available, like -210 or whatever. But that's something you might want to wait on, I guess, until you hit the Avalanche up, because I don't think their number will move that much. But actually, I guess if they face the Rangers, it might. But
yeah, for sure.
It will actually. It will definitely change if they face the Rangers.
I think 200 makes like a decent amount of sense as the fair line if they were playing Tampa.
Yeah.
But if they were playing the Rangers, the line would definitely be higher than that.
Yeah, it'd definitely be higher. Absolutely. But yeah, for tonight, I think that a lot of this stuff really leans towards the Oilers. So again, the Avalanche just dominated the last 2 games. Like even game 3 where the Oilers were out in front. I mean, the Avalanche were far more chances. Like it really was. The Oilers were kind of lucky to even be in it at the end there. They needed a late goal just to tie it up and make it close. So yeah, but I think that that just leads you to getting better value on the Oilers in this weird injury situation. I think leaning towards the over and going against the flood of bets, I think is actually the move tonight.
I guess we'll go to Meiselman first before we let you go, Matt, and we'll let Jeff respond, and we'll hit on a little golf, little U.S. Open look ahead to next week.
Wait, I want to get Matt's take on the Rangers game.
That's what I was going to do. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Before you go, so
because I have a pretty strong take in this one, but I'll let
Matt.
Great.
Okay. So Matt, you start us off. I mean, big Rangers guy. Rangers are up 2-1. They're in Tampa for Game 4. A chance to go up 3-1, going back to the Garden. What do you think? What's your read on Game 4 in Tampa?
This is weird for me because I've spent most of our shows talking about teams that I like only because of value, but I'm not a fan. The Rangers, this is like the only team I'm actually a fan of in all of sports.
You're a hockey square.
When it comes, but I think I can remove myself enough. I can separate it out. Like, I don't expect the Rangers to win Game 4 either. It's really upsetting that they blew the 2-0 lead in Game 3.
Yeah.
I think they're live for Game 4. I think it'll be another close game. So, like, I don't think there's value on the Lightning in any capacity right now. Ultimately, I think the Rangers probably are able to win a Game 7 at home. Like, I think that this could end up being just like, sort of like the Carolina series, sort of like, I guess there have been a few of these matchups in the playoffs where the home team has basically just won every time. It would not shock me if that happened again, where the Rangers just end up winning in 7. But unfortunately, despite the fact that Kadri could be out for the season and the Avs already don't have Sam Girard, like despite that, I think the Rangers would still be enormous underdogs facing them in the Stanley Cup. So I don't see like a good bet in the Rangers series right now. I think the call on the Oilers and the over for that game for tonight feel right. But to me, the market seems pretty fair. Like unless Kadri returns, then you bet the Avs. I don't want to do it if he's not playing. But as far as the Rangers, like I don't have a hot take. So we'll get Jeff's hot take. But I think the Rangers probably lose Game 4 and then they can scrap through 2 wins in the last 3 games of the series.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as the series go, I wouldn't be shocked if it went that way because like the Lightning really have not been good on the road in the playoffs too. You look at just like what they've been doing. They've been getting less chances. Obviously Shesterkin's really good at home, but I think Game 4, I think you hammer the Lightning. The line like looks correct. I don't disagree. Like they can't make the Lightning like -200 or something, but I would still, I'll happily take I'll even bet them on the puck line. I think that the Lightning really they took it to them. Kucherov was good. They finally got past Shesterkin. The Rangers just deflated after blowing that lead. And I think it's just going to come crashing down to like a fairly convincing Lightning win. And then we'll see. Then it's a 3-game series, right? But I think the Lightning absolutely get it done. That's probably, I haven't decided exactly if I'm going to take my puck line, but I'll be on the money line, even if it gets down a little bit. I think the Lightning are the play there.
I do think people aren't talking about Braden Point enough. Like I know everyone knows he's out, but like he's really, really good. And if he were in this series, like I'm not sure the Rangers win more than a game, but they don't have him. And yes, like it does seem like both Shesterkin and Vasilevsky are just playing way better at home for some reason. But like the Lightning are not the level that they usually are without him.
And like I agree that like the Rangers are live to win the series. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But I think Tampa at least evens it up. And yeah, Point being out you're right. I mean, I've almost forgotten that he's out at this point. Yeah. But like, yeah, it's not like that's kind of why I'm almost shocked that Tampa got here again. I mean, I
Florida
really kind of
outplayed them in
expected
most
them
of the
to lose
games. Just
one of the-
Vasilevsky won it for them, right? Like,
Yeah.
is that a fair analysis of that series? That maybe game 1 Tampa outplayed Florida, but games 2, 3, and 4 it was like all Vasilevsky with Florida getting all the scoring chances.
Yeah, it was like that's what I'm talking about. Like on the road, like Tampa on the road, like it's really been Vasilevsky stealing games for them or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of gotten lucky. If you hate to use the lucky word with a team this good, but like in a sense, in this playoffs, it does feel like that. Like they've just gotten the right breaks on the road at the time. You look at like 5-on-5 stats. They've kind of been the worst team in like every matchup. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think the Rangers, even if they lose game 4, still live. And I wouldn't even hate betting them in the series if you were so inclined. So
well, the last thing I'll say before I jump off is we totally agree that the Avalanche are probably going to dominate whoever they face in the finals.
I like, even if Kadri was hurt, I mean, we have seen this team go without players for long stretches and be dominant. Like if they're back up in Napa now, Kemper's back. I would, like I said, I'm going to try and parlay that with something. I mean, just because like parlay
with the Celtics. We got our like 2 things for the show. Just Celtics series, Avs to win the cup. Just put them together. Like, I'm fine with that.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I'll probably do it with my stupid US Open bets, which won't win, but it felt like such a square thing to bet the Avalanche because everyone was betting them, and like I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a bad result for the sports books if the Avalanche win. But at this point, like it just seems foregone conclusion, to be honest.
So just to respond quickly to Jeff before we let Meiselman go, looking at the betting splits that Jeff put out just in the last hour, most of the money in the bets are coming in on the Rangers plus 1.5, the puck line, and even on the money line, Rangers are getting more love than
the New York fans are in full force. Like, New York obviously has a bigger fan base than the Tampa Bay Lightning do. I mean, I witnessed that in person being to a bunch of these playoff games, but yeah, it's New York. Like, of course. The Rangers are always going to be a public team in the playoff series, and people love goaltending in the playoffs. And sure, Vasilevsky's great too, but like the Igor hype is just out of control right now.
And yeah, I mean, you're getting plus 150. How can you pass that down? So,
yeah. Okay, Meiselman, go. See you later. You're back tomorrow, right? You coming tomorrow for NBA?
Yes, absolutely. More basketball.
Okay, I want you to go back into your little Celtics slime hole and come up with some more takes, okay?
That is all I will be doing for the next 24 hours, and I'll be
Meiselman's going to go take a big bath in the green goo of Celtics love. There it is. Very good. Okay. Matt Meiselman, I really believe it. I think he's Jeff. I think he's now more of a Celtics honk than he is a Sharp anymore. Of course, I had to say that once he left. But anyway, what's up?
Did he leave his screen on?
No, he's gone.
No, is the screen sharing? Okay, well, whatever. I'm
screen sharing. It's me.
Oh, it's you screen sharing. Oh, okay.
I've been screen sharing ever since you started the show last September. For crying
I
out
didn't give you enough credit. I was like, oh, they'll just let Matt do it because he's an adult. But
are you kidding me? I've been screen sharing every show we've done together every Monday since August.
Well, that's a compliment then. That means you're more mature than me. It's not really a big compliment, but it's a low bar.
Well, because some other hosts at this company don't know how to, share
Emerson, yes.
one screen. Kaufman, Emerson. There's only so many people that know what they're doing around here. Anyway,
what sport are we on now?
Yeah, we're going to
NASCAR? Golf.
10 minutes on golf, Jeff. You're over on the DraftKings playbook. He's at the fantasy grind. He covers hockey. He covers golf as well. Doesn't like officiating in most sports. He's very bullish on that. RBC Canadian Open. You have some plays that you're on and you want to share with the people. And then we can also look ahead to the US Open, which is next week. Yeah, no. I don't know if my article is quite up yet. I just published it like an hour ago. I sent it in for editing an hour ago, so it's probably not up yet. But Canadian Open. I mean, so a couple things about this field. It's strong at the top. It's very top heavy. You got 5 of the top 10 players in the field. Obviously, we're looking at the odds. You got 7 players under plus 2,000. I don't know why I'm looking at your screen. I should be looking at mine. 7 players under plus 2,000 there. But then once we get past the top 10 guys or 8 guys, I mean, it really starts to thin out. I mean, you got HV3 at plus 2,200, which is super short for him. And then you've got, the mid-range in this field for betting is it's bare thin. Like Patrick Reed, we already have seen move.
He was plus 65 this morning when we did the show, the sweat, and now he's at plus 5,000. That's because there's just nobody else. I think people are probably just betting Patrick Reed. So it's an event where honestly, I might just like pick 4 or 5 guys with like plus 1,000 or better and go from there, because I'm telling you right now, the course this week, I think, is absolutely going to get eaten up. This is basically a chip and putt course for these pros. It's a par 70 that's it's like 7,000 yards flat. So it's short, but it's kind of just a simple layout. It's just a very straightforward, not that many dog legs. It's got smaller greens, and yeah, there's some trees, but like the pros are going to eat this thing up. There's 3 par 5s. They're all short. There's some short par 4s where guys are going to be hitting like 80 yards in, like 50 yards in. And I think you should be targeting some guys who are just like down in the odds, really good wedge games, really good putters. So I'm looking at the top of the board. I'm probably going to save my bullets for next week on a lot of these guys. If Shane Lowry wins this week, good on him. Like that's fine. One player, let's start there, because one player I do like, and I could see him breaking through. And if I can find a better number on him, I might do it. But Matthew Fitzpatrick at plus 1,600. I actually love the fact this guy's coming off a missed cut. You look at his record off of missed cuts too. The last 2 times he's missed cut on the PGA Tour, he's come back in top 5 the next week. He doesn't hit it that far, but he's got a great short game, and he can get red hot with the putter. I think Fitzpatrick could just come to this course and just, get in a groove and sink like a ton of putts and get to like 25 under something. So I don't mind playing him for a bounce back. Like I said, the plus 1,600 number is, kind of throw up in your mouthish, but that is a player I like this week. And I like him for DFS. He's 9,900 there. I would not be shocked if Matthew Fitzpatrick comes in and wins this event, because this quirky little course, I think, really plays into Cameron Smith and Fitzpatrick's game more than it does like some of the other top players. So
yeah, there he is, 9,900 this week on DK. Who else you looking at? Maybe as some long shots.
Like I said, I mean, Fitzpatrick is kind of the guy I'm gonna have some interest in at the top, but like going down, I mean, Reed at plus 6,500, I could have got in on at plus 5,000. I think he's probably still bettable. I mean, he's in this range. Keith Mitchell is actually really interesting at plus 5,000. He's a guy who's really improved his putting. He's just kind of, his around the green game can be a little bit suspect, but like the greens could be receptive this week too, because it's a little bit wet there and early in the week. So like if his irons get going, he could just be smashing it to like 10 feet every hole, sinking some putts. I think Keith Mitchell's probably worth a look in that regard. I don't know, man. Like I don't have a ton of love for these guys in this mid-range though. Like,
Okay.
Finau at plus 3,000 almost looks like a bet just because he's plus 3,000 in this field. Like it feels like he should probably be around Connors or Hatton, but I don't know if I'm going to go there. I really kind of like just taking some dabbles on long shots. Like David Lipsky at plus 13,000 is going to be a bet for me. Hits a lot of fairways, really good short iron player as well. He's won a couple times as a pro, like against like European Tour players. So Lipsky at plus 13,000, that to me is a bet. My boy Steven Jager, where is he? Is he? Oh yeah, I love these odds. Plus 18,000. Jager missed the cut. He missed the cut at Colonial, but like, he's been in form. And this is another player who, like, he can gain you 8 strokes putting, right? So he can get absolutely hot enough on a course like this. Not a big hitter off the tee, but his approach game has been really good in recent weeks. So that's a player I'll probably have as well. And like, I think Lipsky's a very good top 20 bet too, plus 300. That's another way to bet him. But a couple other players we'll throw out here. Matthias Schwab, plus 15,000. Again, really good iron player. He's not going to be disadvantaged off the tee. He can just start firing with those irons as well. Get a couple 8 under rounds. I think he's in play. That's kind of where I'm leaning toward. Like those 3 guys are really kind of what stuck out to me, especially in the research, like just with proximity stats and stuff like that. I'm not super bullish on anyone though, like in the mid range. I don't know. I mean, you could certainly, the way you want to construct your cards this week, it's kind of up to you. I mean, you could bet like Lowry and Fitzpatrick or like Burns and call it a day, or you could start taking just long shots. And I mean, like I said, I might take like one guy up at the top. Fitzpatrick is interesting, but he hasn't exactly shown that he's a great closer or that he deserves that number at all. So I don't know. This is a week where, we're going to have a couple selections. maybe some top 20 bets, but kind of keep it light because the US Open's next week. So
right. Yep. And as you said in your article, it's more of a competitive practice kind of week for some of the bigger names, right? Because it's the first time this is taking place since 2019 because of the pandemic.
It's a brand new course too. Like they haven't played this course since 2010. So, but like I said, it is short. It is going to be simple for these players, in my opinion. And I think you're going to see really low scoring. And I think for the US Open next week, again, you don't
odds
necessarily.
are up, Jeff.
What's that?
I got the odds up right now for US Open.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's take a look at those. But just in terms of like what you want to see from your player this week, like I wouldn't worry too much if they're, like let's say they put in like a couple slow rounds. As long as their tee to green game looks good, like they're hitting their approaches close, they're gaining strokes on, they're not doing anything terrible off the tee. I would be pretty bullish on a guy. If his putter just doesn't show up or he just, he's kind of like flat in that regard, I wouldn't worry too much about it. The greens next week are going to be completely different. They're going to be way faster, slopier, probably way bigger. So in that regard, just keep track of what your player's doing, but in the stats, don't worry if he's having kind of like a weird week on the greens, because it's not really not going to matter next week. So, but yeah, US Open, I don't know who. I actually haven't looked at these because the live odds came out and I had to look at those this week. Actually, are there live odds on DK yet
for
the new golf tour, the live golf tour? It's okay. They're not there, so we don't have to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look down these odds though. So, who did I say was?
So you got 1, 2, 3. You've got eight players under that plus 2,000 threshold. Now I'm sure that in this case, you're probably more on some guys in that mid range as opposed to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like the US Open, I think this is definitely a place where you can take some shots, but I think up top, again, you want to start looking kind of like past the top 4 or 5 guys. I mean, a guy like Victor Hovland hasn't been in great shape, but is he of interest? Will Zalatoris definitely deserves our respect now. I think you can go even deeper. Like, I mean, guys like Daniel Berger plus 4,000. I mean, Berger has top 10 at a US Open before. At least I think he's top 10. He's definitely had one good US Open at like Shinnecock Hills. So I think Daniel Berger plus 4,000 is someone you could take some interest in. Billy Horschel plus 5,000. He's probably in play. But the guy I'm really interested in is at plus 6,500. That's Max Homa. He's won on some longer, tougher golf courses already in his career. Quail Hollow, Riviera. He just won at like the Wells Fargo in like tough conditions. I think Max Homa is a player who's like ready to break out. And I think those are fine odds for a guy who won recently. He's been in better form than multiple players above him. Like, you're getting Adam Scott at like 6,500, but like Max Homa has been way better than Adam Scott this year. He's been better than Berger, quite frankly. So I think Max Homa is really nice value, plus 6,500 there. That's a player I would be looking towards and looking to bet next week too.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Jeff, thank you for sticking around and hanging out for 2 sports today. Good stuff.
Absolutely. No, I mean, fun to get Matt's opinion on hockey as well. I know he's into the Rangers and stuff like that, and I hope the Celtics work out for you guys. I mean, I don't know.
I can really feel it in your voice. Yeah.
I mean, well, I'm just a little skeptical. I don't like betting against teams like the Warriors. It just, they seem to have that, like, that in with like the league, it's like, yeah, we'll get you one here, Steph, so I don't know.
We'll see if the Oilers can extend the series tonight. This thing might go back. We'll see.
I mean, like I said, I like the Oilers tonight. Long term, not so much. They need to get a goaltender for next year, but the other thing you could do, since we went back to hockey, if you want to lay off the Avalanche for one game, see what happens tonight, and then bet them to win the future of the Stanley Cup. That could be something too. But
okay,
at this point in the playoffs, I'll be absolutely shocked if the Avalanche don't win the Stanley Cup. So
and really quick, that's a good point, because say Tampa then wins tomorrow night, maybe there's a little more Tampa love coming in, and maybe that just makes folks for a day forget how good Colorado is.
Maybe at like minus 190 or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Who knows?
There you go. That's very sharpish of you, Jeff Ulrich. Very good. Okay, we got to go. Everybody, be sure to join us on the show, The Slate. We're back tomorrow talking basketball, getting ready for Game 3 of the finals in Boston Wednesday. Sharag and Meiselman will join me. Yeah. We'll be doing that tomorrow. Jeff will be back Wednesday for the golf show on the slate. Of course, the sweat is weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time on our platforms, YouTube, Twitch, and on Twitter. Thanks to Eamon and Andrew. For Jeff Ulrich, Matt Meiselman, Brendan Glasheen, we'll see you all next time, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you.